Уважаемый господин
Your Excellency, Mr. Moon Jae-in, Your Excellency, Mr. Batulga, Mr. Shinzo Abe, dear host, ladies and gentlemen, I'm happy to welcome all participants and guests of the Third Eastern Economic Forum in Vladivostok. This year, guests from more than 60 countries have gathered here. I'm grateful to all of you for your interest in the Russian Far East, its present and its future. We've been waiting for this event to begin, and we have taken note of the fact that the number of participants and interest in this forum is growing. For me, this is a great pleasure. It's very important for us. Dynamic growth, renovation, and modernization of this region are on the list of our priorities, an important part of strategy aimed at enhancing competitive edge of Russia, its economy, its human capital. Over the recent years, we have focused major financial and administrative resources in the Far East. A significant boost for the macro-region has been given by the APEC summit in Vladivostok in 2012. This forum helped rediscover the Russian Far East for the whole world, for the business of the Asia-Pacific. And the Eastern Economic Forum, where we've gathered today, enriches this spirit of goodwill and openness. We shape here special innovative approaches to the Far East management. Over the last 4 years, we've adopted 19 federal laws which have laid down the new foundation for the region's development. We intend to further improve the legal framework for the development of the Far East. We're going to codify this legal framework and systematize it to make sure that laws and law enforcement in particular could be as convenient and clear for people, investors, business, state and municipal authorities as possible. This should be done to ensure more effective work of special mechanisms that were launched in the Far East. I'm talking about advanced development territories and the free port of Vladivostok. This has unlocked new opportunities for the advent to the macro-region of Russian and foreign investors. This has allowed to speed up the launch of projects and to reduce implementation costs. We already see results over the last 3 years. The industrial production has grown in the Russian Far East, and it stood at 8.6%. This is higher than the Russian average indicated. The gross regional product grew by 4.2%, and in 2017, what we see is a positive trend. It is a growing trend. The fixed investment for the first half increased by almost 20%. Let me indicate that we also witnessing this positive trend in Russia in general. The growth stood at 4.1%. This is a very good figure because everyone present here are specialists and understand perfectly well that when fixed investments are growing, it means that the GDP growth will be guaranteed for the next several quarters to come. The money has been invested, the production is working, therefore, the growth is ensured. Major projects have been implemented, such as the shipbuilding yard Zvezda in Primorsky Krai, gas chemical cluster in Amur River region, and an important package of agreements on cooperation is signed. At the current forum, these plans' investment decisions should translate into successful enterprises, plants, factories, and infrastructure facilities, and most importantly, into modern jobs and a good quality of life for our people. And we will not be complacent. We will make sure that after the projects that have been launched, new investors come to the Far East with their capital, technologies, and ideas. Our comprehensive support will always be provided to companies who are ready to expand to global markets, produce and export high-tech products. And I mean both leading corporations and those who seek to join the major league of the world business. And the Russian Far East is indeed a unique combination of opportunities and competitive advantages for the implementation of ambitious projects. These include preferential tax treatment and convenient administrative procedures, which to a large extent exceed or are equal to the most advanced development territories, both in the Asia-Pacific and globally. These are available natural resources, coal, oil, gas, metals, low energy tariffs. For example, in Vladivostok, Vladivostok, Khabarovsk today, these tariffs are lower than, for example, in Busan, Seoul, Osaka, Tokyo, or Beijing. To make it possible for business to deliver their products promptly and at a low cost to Asia-Pacific, to Europe, and to other regions, we are developing new transport corridors in the Far East and developing our port capacities. We're carefully studying the possibility of building a railroad connection with the Sakhalin Island, along with the development of the Northern Sea Route, modernization of the Baikal-Amur and Trans-Siberian railroads, and implementation of other projects. This will allow turn the Russian Far East into one of major logistic hubs of the world. Finally, Far East is an important center of integration processes. We understand quite well that business is interested in removing trade protectionist barriers, ensuring open access to the markets. Let me emphasize, this was one of the key topics in the agenda of the BRICS summit that has just concluded in the People's Republic of China. Russia intends to further act in the spirit of openness, cooperation, and trust. We will lift obstacles impeding business contacts, development of tourism, educational and youth exchanges. A month ago, on the 8th of August, we began issuing e-visas to foreigners coming to Vladivostok. And over the 4 weeks period, more than 1,300 people took advantage of this opportunity, including the participants of our forum. And starting from January the 1st, 2018, it will be possible to enter Kamchatka and Sakhalin using the e-visa. We are willing to deepen investment, trade, financial ties with all partners, both from the eastern and western coast of the Pacific. Moreover, given that possibilities for investment in the Russian Far East are indeed limitless, the Far East Investment Promotion Agency has already set up joint investment companies with counterparts from China and Japan. Until the end of the year, there are plans to set up a similar structure with the participation of partners from South Korea. And there is a joint interest in carrying out such investment efforts with our Indian partners to be competitive and investment attractive. We are willing to keep moving forward. We will analyze the expertise and experience of leading countries in terms of capital procurement to suggest more favorable conditions. A number of new decisions on raising the investment attractiveness of advanced development territories in the free port of Vladivostok have been discussed by us recently with colleagues, including recent meetings and sessions in Moscow. For example, in agreements with residents of these territories, we will write down and include the so-called grandfather clause when investment conditions cannot get worse during the first 10 years of the project implementation. But let me repeat, what we want is to improve business conditions. And let me mention a few more decisions. This is new data, and I would like you to take this information into account. Any investor becoming a resident of the advanced development territory or a free port of Vladivostok will have a 10-year premium exemption until 2025. Previously, this benefit could only be obtained no later than 3 years after the creation of the advanced development territory. I think for people who are engaged in practical work, this is clear. It's clear for you what you're talking about. If you registered in the advanced development territory in 2024, this benefit will be valid for 10 years more until 2034. If you do it in 2025, it will be valid until 2035. For major investment projects, the amount of more than 100 billion rubles, the profit tax relief will be extended from 10 to 19 years. As we understand, these are projects of a long-term cycle, and those who invest these resources should understand how the economy of these projects will work. For foreign investors who will invest $10 million or more into the Russian Far East, we will provide simplified citizenship granting procedures. So for our moderator today, we could also propose that. He's a businessman. He says that had it not been for this forum, he would have hardly come here. So we encourage you to invest at least $10 million, and then you will be able to come here as to your own home. Dear colleagues, we're beginning to implement a new stage of large-scale comprehensive development of the Far East of all its territories. This stage has to do, first of all, with improvement of conditions for life and work of the people in the Far East, creation of economic and social environment which would be equal and in many aspects exceeding the average Russian indicators. At the same time, we will focus on several areas. First, it's important to establish efficient incentives for the growth of business entrepreneurial activity in the Far East. We need to ensure comfortable conditions for business, not only in advanced development territories, but also throughout the region in general. And yesterday, by the way, with the representatives of Russian business, here in Vladivostok, we did discuss these issues. And this is a task of fundamental importance for federal and, most importantly, regional and municipal authorities. We need to unlock opportunities for initiative to entrepreneurial, quick-witted, hard-working people, who have always been the wealth and strength of the Russian Far East. I would also ask the leadership of the SME Development Corporation to adopt additional measures aimed at assisting business in the Far East. And I would like to ask the regional authorities and the Ministry for the Development of the Russian Far East to participate actively in creating portfolios of projects which would require preferential loan and guarantee support. Second, and the most important area of our work, which is of major importance for the well-being of people, I'm talking about building the modern social infrastructure. For the Far East to develop steadily, for the people to see future in this region, we need not just create centers of economic growth and new jobs. We need to build new hospitals, healthcare, and cultural centers, kindergartens and schools. We need to create the living environment, taking into account the needs of the people. We need to change the image of cities and towns. In the 7 years to come, until 2025, we need to raise major regional indicators to the level higher than Russian average. And finding a solution to these issues should be a goal of development plans of Far Eastern regions as well as of federal state programs. I would like to ask the government to develop all the necessary managerial and administrative mechanisms to find out additional funding sources for the comprehensive development of the Far Eastern territories. Third, the future of any region is its youth, those who choosing their professions, students, those who are beginning to shape their lives, their destiny, those who are inseparable from their home region. Proactivity, open-mindedness, talents of the Far Eastern youth should definitely be much in demand. And for that to happen, we need efficient youth policy which would take into account current and future goals of the Far East. I've already mentioned it. Yesterday I met with our foreign investors, and one of the issues that they've raised, and I guess some of those colleagues are present here in the hall, this is the lack of training. And we will take all these comments into account. I would like to ask the Ministry for the Development of the Russian East, Ministry of Science and Education, along with the Human Capital Development Agency, to develop a relevant curriculum. A special emphasis should be made on development of education, career guidance, support of youth at the labor market. And among other things, I'm talking about opening university branches in the Far East of the leading universities of Russia. Their work, their curricula should be closely integrated with the key sectors of the economy and social sphere of the region. The example which I've just mentioned was raised by our Indian partner, who said that Indian companies had been working in Russia for many years, but they are unable to find diamond cutting specialists. But this is a problem which is typical for many industries. At the same time, it is important to make a full use of the existing educational potential of the region. Even today, the Far Eastern Federal University is turning into one of the most advanced modern educational institutions of Russia and the Center for the Development of Digital Technologies. I may underscore the region's demand for skilled personnel, including for blue-collar jobs, will only grow, and it is important for the human resources to be developed here in the Far East. In the next 3 years to come, we need to comprehensively modernize the system of secondary vocational education. We need to renovate the technological and scientific facilities of vocational education institutions guided by the best world skills standards. And finally, the fourth area, active policy of demographic development. The demographic situation in the Far East is getting better, but we need additional decisive measures in this sphere which are capable of reversing negative trends that have been taking shape for decades. This summer, the government of Russia adopted a concept of demographic policy of the Far East. We need to launch it in 2018, and that is why I entrust the government with adopting a plan of relevant events in September. And finally, I support the proposal that was mentioned yesterday at the session of the Russian State Council Presidium. This proposal consists in improving the existing program of labor mobility support. I would like to entrust the Ministry of Labor and Social Protection with the goal of thinking about how this program should be expanded, how it could be developed, how its efficiency could be raised, how it could be aimed at assisting hardworking, talented people who would love to move to the Far East, live and work here. Dear friends, in conclusion, let me reiterate, developing the Far Eastern economic potential should go hand in hand with the strengthening of its social sphere to make sure that every citizen of the region could feel real improvements in education, healthcare, public utilities, and increased welfare of their families and friends. The future of the Far East depends, first of all, on its people, on those people who were born here, who have come here to work, who would like to settle down here. Yes, there is a lot of work for us ahead for many years to come, but we do believe that we will make all our plans come true together. The Far East of Russia will definitely be a success story, the way the people living here see it, the way they want it to be. I thank you for your attention, and I hope that many of you present here today who show their interest in the Far East will be able to implement all of your plans here. Thank you very much.